The room is full of voices. Everyone is talking. Everyone has something to say. And you're sitting there. You understand most of the words. You have an idea, a good idea, right here. Inside your head, but your mouth does not open. The meeting ends. People walk out. Your idea stays inside again. You drive home, you think about it. Why didn't I say something? I knew the answer. I knew it. That feeling right there, that is what we are talking about today. And welcome back to Everyday Confidence English, the place where we do not just learn English. We learn how to use it when it matters most. Today, I want to tell you about Maya. Maya came to the United States 6 years ago. Before that, she was an engineer. A good one. Back home, people listened when she talked. Her boss trusted her. Her team respected her. Then she moved to America. And slowly, very slowly, she became invisible. Not because she lost her skills, not because she became less smart, but because she could not find her voice in a new language. In meetings, she stayed quiet. On the phone, she kept her answers short. When someone asked her opinion, she said, "I'm not sure." Even when she was very sure, she told herself, "My English is not good enough yet. I will speak up when my accent is better. I will share my ideas when I am more ready." But here is the truth, the hard truth. No one was coming to tell her she was ready. No one was going to knock on her door and say, "Maya, today is the day. Today, you are ready to speak." That moment was never going to come. Not by itself. And maybe right now you recognize this feeling. Maybe you are Maya. Maybe you have been Maya for months or years. You sit in the room, you know the answer, but the silence comes faster than the words. And every time that happens, something small inside you breaks a little more. You start to believe the lie that you are less, that your voice does not belong here, that the people who speak fast and loud are somehow more valuable than you. They are not. But silence is patient. And if you let it stay long enough, it starts to feel normal. That is the danger. Not that you cannot speak English. The danger is that you stop believing you have something worth saying. So today, we are going to change that. In this story, in Maya's story, you will find something real. Something you can use. Not a grammar rule. Not a list of vocabulary to memorize. Something much more important than that. You will find one moment, one simple sentence that changed the way Maya showed up in every room she walked into. And I truly believe, it will do the same for you. Stay with me. Before we go into Maya's story, I want to give you something first. Think of it like this. Before a soldier goes into battle, they do not just walk in empty-handed. They prepare. They carry what they need. So right now, before we step into this story together, I want to give you 4 words. Not just definitions. Not just meanings from a dictionary. I want to give you 4 ideas that will change the way you see yourself in this country. Are you ready? Let's go. Word 1, invisible. Say it with me, invisible. Invisible means people cannot see you or people do not notice you. But here is what I want you to understand. When an immigrant becomes invisible at work, it's almost never because others choose to ignore them. It is because they choose to erase themselves. They stop asking questions. They stop sharing ideas. They stop taking up space in the room. Little by little, they make themselves smaller and smaller, until one day they are there in the room. But nobody knows it. Invisible is not something that happens to you. Most of the time, invisible is something you do to yourself. Remember that. Word 2. Speak up. Say it with me. Speak up. Speak up means to say something, to share your voice, to let the people hear what you think. But most people think speak up means you have to be loud. You have to be confident. You have to have perfect English. That is wrong. Speak up does not mean speak perfectly. Speak up means speak. It means you take the space that you are allowed to take. It means you do not wait for permission to share what is already yours. Your ideas are yours. Your thoughts are yours. Your voice is yours. Speak up is how you remind the world that you are still here. Word 3. Deserve. Say it with me. Deserve. Deserve means you have the right to something. You earned it. It belongs to you. Now, let me ask you something quietly. Do you believe you deserve to be heard? Not someday. Not when your English is better. Not when your accent is gone. Right now, today, in this room, in this meeting, in this conversation. Because here is what I see in so many immigrants who come to this country. They work harder than everyone else. They study longer than everyone else. They sacrifice more than everyone else. And then they sit quietly in the corner and wait for someone to notice. Nobody is coming to hand you what you deserve. You have to decide you deserve it first. Word 4. Prove. Say it with me. Prove. Prove means to show something is true, to give evidence, to demonstrate. And this one word, is the most dangerous trap for immigrants who are professionals. Because when we feel invisible, we think the answer is to prove ourselves. Work harder to prove yourself. Stay later to prove yourself. Say yes to everything to prove yourself. But proving yourself never ends. There is always one more thing to prove. There is always one more test. The people who truly earn respect in the workplace are not the ones who prove the most. They are the ones who stop needing to prove and start simply showing up as who they already are. There is a big difference between proving your worth and knowing your worth. Maya learned this difference. And her story begins right now. Maya remembers the exact day she fell in love with engineering. She was 11 years old. Her father brought home an old broken radio. He put it on the kitchen table and said, "Let's see what is inside." They opened it together. Wires. Small parts. A little circuit board. Her father did not know how to fix it. But Maya did. She sat there for 3 hours. Connecting, testing, trying again. And then the radio turned on. Music filled the small kitchen. Her father looked at her with wide eyes. He said one sentence she never forgot. "You have a gift, Maya." From that day, she knew what she wanted. She wanted to build things. She wanted to solve problems. She wanted to walk into a room and be the person with the answer. And for many years, that is exactly who she was. Back home, Maya was not just an engineer. She was the engineer people called when nobody else could figure it out. Her team trusted her completely. When there was a difficult problem, her manager would say, "Let Maya look at it." She loved that feeling, not because of the praise, but because she was doing exactly what she was made to do. She was using her mind. She was helping people. She was building something real. Then she came to America. She came with her husband. They had a plan, a good plan. Save money, build a new life, give their children something better. Maya found a job at a tech company in Seattle. The title was not as high as her old job. The salary was okay. Not great, but okay. She told herself, "This is just the beginning. I will work hard. I will show them what I can do. In 1 year, maybe 2, they will see who I really am." She had one dream inside that dream. There was a big project at her company, a new system, very complex, the kind of problem she had solved many times before. She wanted to lead that project. Not because she wanted the title, but because she knew she could do it well. She knew she had the answer. Every morning she woke up and thought about that project. She studied the documents. She prepared her ideas. She practiced what she would say in the meeting. In her head, the words were clear. In her head, she was ready. She just needed one moment, one open door, one chance to walk in and say, "I have something to say, and I think you need to hear it." That was all she wanted, not praise, not a promotion, not for people to think she was perfect. She just wanted one moment to be seen for who she truly was. Is that too much to ask? I do not think so. I do not think so at all. The first team meeting was on a Tuesday morning. Maya arrived early. She found a seat near the middle of the table, not too close to the front, not hiding in the back. The middle felt safe. People came in one by one. They talked to each other easily. They laughed at things she did not quite catch. Fast jokes, short references, the kind of things you only understand when you grew up inside a culture. Maya smiled when others smiled. She nodded when it seemed right. But inside, she was already working twice as hard just to follow the room. The meeting started. Her manager spoke first. Then a few colleagues shared updates. The words were clear enough. Maya understood most of it. Then the conversation turned to the new project. The complex system. Her project. The one she had been preparing for. Someone asked, "Does anyone have ideas on where to start?" Maya felt it. That small fire in her chest. She had the answer. She had been thinking about this for 2 weeks. She opened her mouth, and then something happened. A voice came out. But it was not her voice. It was the voice of the man sitting across from her. His name was Daniel. He spoke quickly and with total confidence. He said something good, not as complete as Maya's idea. But he said it first. And he said it loud. The room responded. People nodded. Her manager wrote something down. Maya closed her mouth. She told herself, "It's okay. There will be another moment." But the meeting moved fast. Topic to topic, person to person. And every time she found a small opening, the conversation had already moved on. She left that meeting with her ideas still inside her head. Untouched. Unheard. That night she sat at the kitchen table and tried to understand what went wrong. She was not slow. She was not confused. She understood everything in that room. But understanding and speaking are two very different muscles. And here is what nobody tells you when you move to a new country. Back home, you spent years building the confidence to speak. Years of small moments, small victories, small proofs that your voice had value. When you cross an ocean, you leave all of that behind. You start from zero, not in intelligence, not in skill, but in confidence, in the social trust that says, "My voice belongs in this room." Maya had to rebuild that trust, but she did not know how. So she did what felt safest. She prepared more. She stayed later than everyone else. She sent detailed emails with all the ideas she could not say out loud. Her work was excellent. Everyone could see that. But excellence on paper is not the same as presence in a room. And a person who cannot speak up in a meeting slowly becomes background noise. There was something else too. Something more personal, more painful. When Maya did try to speak, sometimes people asked her to repeat herself. Once a colleague finished her sentence for her. Not to be mean, just impatient, just assuming she needed help. Each time that happened, Maya felt a small piece of her old self quietly step back. The engineer who fixed the radio at 11. The woman her father called gifted. She was still there, but she was getting harder to find. And the project she wanted to lead, someone else was already being considered for it. She heard this in a hallway conversation she was not meant to hear. She stood very still. She waited for the feeling to pass. Then she walked back to her desk, sat down, and opened her laptop. She did not cry. She just went quiet. The kind of quiet that stays. His name was Daniel. And I want to be honest with you right now. Daniel was not a bad person. He did not wake up in the morning and think about how to make Maya feel small. He did not plan anything. He did not have an evil agenda. That is actually what made him so dangerous. Because the worst villains in real life are not the ones who hate you. They are the ones who simply do not see you. Daniel was good at his job. Confident, fast, loud in the right way. The kind of person who fills a room without even trying. He grew up in this country. He learned how to take space before he learned how to read. In meetings, Daniel spoke first. Not because he was smarter, but because silence felt uncomfortable to him. And he had the habit of filling it. When someone paused to find a word, Daniel jumped in. When someone started a sentence slowly, Daniel finished it. He thought he was helping. He thought he was keeping things moving. He had no idea what he was taking. One afternoon, there was a smaller meeting, just 4 people. Maya, Daniel, 2 other colleagues. The topic was a technical problem in the new system. A specific problem that Maya had seen before. She recognized it immediately. She started to speak. I think the issue is in the 3rd layer. If we look at the connection between, Daniel cut in. Yeah, the integration point. Totally. I was thinking we just reroute the whole thing. Clean solution. Fast. The other 2 colleagues nodded. They moved on. Maya sat with her sentence still half finished in the air. She wanted to say, no, that is not the right solution. It will work for now, but it will create a bigger problem in 3 months. She knew this. She was certain. But the room had already moved forward. And going back felt like making a scene, felt like being difficult, felt like causing trouble. So she let it go. 3 months later, exactly what Maya predicted happened. The system had a bigger problem. The team spent 2 weeks fixing it. There were late nights, stress, frustration. Daniel was frustrated too. He genuinely could not understand what went wrong. Maya understood perfectly. She had understood from the beginning, but nobody knew that because she had never said it out loud. There was another moment, a harder one. The company had a presentation for a new client. The manager asked the team, who wants to present? Maya had prepared for this. She had stayed up late. She had practiced her slides. She had even recorded herself speaking and listened back to correct her pronunciation. She raised her hand, slowly, quietly. But Daniel was already talking. I can do it. I'm good with clients. I know how to read the room. The manager said, great. Daniel, you take the lead. Maya, you can support from the back. Support from the back. Maya wrote those words in her notebook that night. She did not write anything else. Just those 3 words. Over and over. Support from the back. She thought about her father, the broken radio, the music that filled the kitchen, his voice saying, you have a gift, Maya. She closed the notebook. She thought, how did I get here? How did the person with the gift end up supporting from the back? And then a different thought came. Quieter, but more honest. Maybe Daniel is not the problem. She sat with that thought for a long time. Outside the window, Seattle was dark and wet. Rain on the glass. The city moving without her. She had spent months waiting for Daniel to change, waiting for the room to notice her, waiting for someone to open the door. But doors do not open themselves. And that night, something small but important shifted inside her. Not anger, not bitterness. Something closer to clarity. She was done waiting. His name was George. He was 61 years old. He had worked at the company for 19 years. His desk was in the corner by the window. The one with the small plant nobody else wanted. George was not a manager. He did not have a fancy title. But everyone who had been at the company for more than a year knew one thing about George. When you had a real problem, you went to George. Maya had walked past his desk every day for 7 months. They said good morning. Sometimes they talked about the weather. Nothing more than that. Until one Thursday afternoon, Maya was sitting alone in the break room. She had a cup of coffee she was not drinking. She was staring at nothing. George walked in. He poured his coffee. He looked at her for a moment. Then he pulled out a chair and sat down. He did not ask if she was okay. He did not say anything at first. He just sat there. After a while, he said, "You know, I moved here from Greece when I was 26. Maya looked up. He continued, "My English was terrible. I mean, really terrible. I once told my manager I was very excited about the new project. But the word I used did not mean excited. It meant something else entirely." He smiled at the memory. Maya almost smiled too. For the first 2 years, George said, "I was the quietest person in every room. I thought if I just did good work, people would notice. I thought results would speak for themselves." Maya nodded slowly. That was exactly what she thought. George shook his head. "Results speak quietly," he said. "People speak loudly." And in a room full of noise, quiet results get buried. He took a sip of his coffee. "Can I tell you the one thing that changed everything for me?" Maya said, "Yes, please." George leaned forward slightly. He spoke slowly and clearly. "I learned one sentence, just one. And I used it every single time someone talked over me or took my space in a meeting." He paused. Then he said it. "Actually, I would like to finish my point." Maya repeated it quietly. "Actually, I would like to finish my point." George nodded. "That is it. That is the whole secret. 7 words. No drama, no anger, no confrontation. Just a calm, clear claim on the space that was already yours." Maya turned the sentence over in her mind. "Actually, that word at the beginning, it does not attack. It does not apologize. It just redirects. It says, wait, come back. I was not finished. I would like, not I demand, not you have to. I would like. Polite but firm, warm but immovable. To finish my point, not my sentence, not my words, my point. Something of value, something worth hearing. 7 words. But inside those 7 words was something Maya had been missing for 7 months. Permission. Not permission from Daniel. Not permission from her manager. Not permission from the room. Permission from herself. George stood up. He picked up his coffee. Before he walked away, he said, "You are one of the sharpest people in that office, Maya. I have watched you work. I have read your emails. I have seen what you see that other people miss." He stopped at the door. "The problem was never your English. The problem was that you were waiting for someone to hand you the microphone. Nobody is going to hand it to you. You have to reach out and take it." He left. Maya sat alone in the break room for a few more minutes. She said the sentence one more time. Quietly. To herself. "Actually, I would like to finish my point." Then again, a little stronger. "Actually, I would like to finish my point." Outside the break room window, the sky over Seattle was starting to clear, a little light coming through the clouds. Not much, but enough to notice. She had her sentence. Now she needed one moment to use it. The first time Maya tried to use the sentence, she failed. Not because the words were wrong, but because she waited too long. It was a Monday morning meeting. Small group, 6 people. Maya had prepared again. She had the sentence ready. She had practiced it in the mirror that morning. The meeting started. Daniel was talking, as usual. Then there was a small pause. Maya opened her mouth, but her heart was beating so fast she could hear it. Her hands felt cold. The words sat right there at the front of her mouth, and she let the moment pass. Daniel filled the silence. The meeting moved on. She drove home that evening and sat in her car, in the parking garage, for 10 minutes before she could go upstairs. She did not feel angry. She felt tired. The kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. She texted George. Just 2 words. I failed. He replied 3 minutes later. Also 2 words. Try again. No lecture. No long explanation. Just 2 words. Try again. She printed the sentence on a small piece of paper. She put it under her keyboard. So every morning when she sat down, she would see it. Actually, I would like to finish my point. The second chance came on a Wednesday. Different meeting. Bigger group this time. 12 people in the room. The manager was there. Maya was speaking. She was explaining a technical issue. Her words were careful, clear, measured. She was on her 3rd sentence when Daniel cut in. Same as always. Automatic, effortless, like breathing for him. And something different happened inside Maya. Not anger, not panic, clarity. She waited exactly 2 seconds. Then she spoke. Her voice was not loud. It was not aggressive, but it was steady. Actually, I would like to finish my point. The room went quiet. Not an uncomfortable quiet, just a pause. A small reset. Daniel stopped. He looked at her, not with hostility, more like surprise, like a person who walked into a glass door they did not know was there. Maya continued. She finished her explanation. Every word she had prepared, all the way to the end. When she finished, her manager nodded slowly. That is a good observation, Maya. Write that up and send it to the team. She said, I will? 2 words, but they felt enormous. After the meeting, George passed her in the hallway. He did not say anything. He just looked at her and gave one slow nod. She understood. But here is the part of the story I really want you to hear. It did not get easy after that. The 3rd time she used the sentence, her voice shook a little. The 4th time, a colleague looked impatient, like she was being inconvenient. There was one meeting where she used it, and the room just moved on anyway, like nobody heard, like the words dissolved in the air. She went back to George after that one. She sat down at his desk by the window. She said, I did everything right, and it still did not work. George looked at his small plant for a moment. Then he said, When you learn to walk as a child, you do not fall once and decide walking is not for you. You fall, you stand up, you fall again, you stand up again. One day, you do not think about walking anymore. You just walk. He looked at her. Right now, you are still thinking about it. That is okay. Keep going. The day will come when you stop thinking and you just speak. Maya went back to her desk. She looked at the small piece of paper under her keyboard. Actually, I would like to finish my point. She had used this sentence 6 times now. 2 times, it worked perfectly. 2 times, it was okay. 1 time, nobody seemed to care. 1 time, her voice shook. 6 attempts. 6 imperfect, real human attempts. But here is what she noticed when she looked back honestly. She was still here. Nothing terrible had happened. Nobody had fired her. Nobody had laughed at her. Nobody had stood up and pointed. The fear in her head was so much louder than the reality in the room. And the project. The big project she had wanted to lead from the beginning. Her manager had just sent a company-wide email. The team for the project was being finalized. Decisions would be announced next Friday. Maya read the email twice. Then she closed her laptop. She looked out the window. Seattle was raining again. It almost always was. But this time, she did not feel like the rain was falling on her. This time, she felt like she was standing just inside the door. Dry, ready, waiting for the right moment to step outside. Friday was coming. Friday came. Maya woke up early, before her alarm. She lay in the dark for a few minutes and thought about the radio. The broken radio on the kitchen table, her father's face when the music came on. She got up, she made coffee, she sat at the kitchen table, alone, and said the sentence one more time, not because she needed to practice, but because it had become something else now. It had become a reminder of who she was before the silence started. She drove to work. She arrived early. She sat at her desk. Under her keyboard, the small piece of paper was still there. She left it there. She did not need to look at it anymore. But she liked knowing it was there. The announcement was at 2:00. At 1:55, her manager called a short team meeting. Everyone gathered in the main conference room. 12 people standing around the table, some sitting, some leaning against the wall. Her manager stood at the front. He had a single sheet of paper in his hand. He talked about the project, the scope, the timeline, the importance. Maya had heard all of this before. She focused on breathing, slow and steady. Then her manager looked up from the paper. He said, "After reviewing the team's work over the past several months, I have decided who will lead this project." A pause. Maya, she heard her name, but for one strange second, her brain did not connect it. Then Daniel looked at her, and 2 other colleagues looked at her, and her manager was looking at her, and she understood. She said, "Thank you. I will not let the team down." Her voice was clear. No shaking, no rush, just clear and steady, like she had always known how to do this. After the meeting, people came to congratulate her, some with real warmth, some with polite surprise. One colleague said, "I did not know you were interested." Maya smiled. She said, "I have always been interested. I just needed to say it out loud." Daniel came to her last. He stood in front of her for a moment. Then he said, "Congrats, Maya. Honestly, you deserve it." And she believed he meant it. Because he did. Daniel was never the villain. He was just someone who had never been asked to be quiet. He did not know what it cost to speak in a language that was not your first. He had never had to fight just to finish a sentence. But Maya had. And that fight had made her something Daniel did not have. It made her precise. It made her intentional. It made her choose every word like it mattered, because for her, it did. That evening, she called her father. The time difference was large. He answered in the middle of his morning, his voice warm and a little sleepy. She told him about this project. She told him she was going to lead it. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said in their own language, "I always knew. From the day you fixed that radio, I always knew." She did not cry. She had promised herself she would not. She almost kept that promise. After the call, she sat by the window. The rain had stopped for once. The Seattle sky was doing something unusual, turning pink and orange at the edges, a quiet sunset that asked for nothing. She thought about all the meetings, all the moments she had stayed silent, all the sentences she had swallowed, all the ideas that had lived and died inside her head. She did not feel regret exactly, more like understanding. Every one of those silent moments had been building something. Pressure, tension, clarity, like water behind a dam. And now the dam had opened, not with a flood, with something more controlled, more powerful, a steady, purposeful current. She opened her laptop. She started writing her plan for the project. Word by word, sentence by sentence, clear and unhurried. The engineer who fixed the radio at 11 was back. And this time, she was not sitting in the middle, where it felt safe. She was sitting at the front, where she had always belonged. So that is Maya's story. A woman who crossed an ocean, not just a physical ocean, but an ocean inside herself. The ocean between who she was and who she was afraid she had become. Let me ask you something. Now, how many times have you been, Maya? How many times have you sat in a room with the answer inside your head and let the moment pass? How many times have you swallowed a sentence? Because the fear came faster than the words. I am not asking to make you feel bad. I am asking because I want you to see that you are not alone in this. This is not a you problem. This is a human problem. And it is a very specific kind of human problem. It belongs to people like you. People who were brave enough to leave everything familiar and build something new in a place that did not know their name yet. That takes more courage than most people will ever understand. So the first lesson from Maya's story is this. Your silence was never stupidity. Your silence was survival. When you first arrived, staying quiet was how you stayed safe, how you watched and learned, how you understood the new rules of a new place. That silence had a purpose. But survival mode has an expiration date. At some point, the silence that protected you starts to imprison you, and only you can feel when that moment comes. Only you know when the silence has gone on long enough. The second lesson is this. You do not need a perfect sentence. You need one brave sentence. Maya did not become a leader because her English became perfect. Her English was not perfect on the day her manager said her name. She still made small mistakes. She still paused sometimes to find a word. She still had an accent that told the story of where she came from. But she had one sentence she believed in completely. One sentence that said, I am still here. I am not finished. This space belongs to me too. Find your sentence. It does not have to be Maya's sentence. It just has to be honest. It just has to be yours. The third lesson is the one I want to leave with you most. George told Maya something she did not fully understand until later. He said the problem was never her English. The problem was that she was waiting for someone to hand her the microphone. Here is what I want you to understand about that microphone. Nobody is going to hand it to you. Not because they are cruel. Not because they want you to fail. But because they are busy holding their own microphone. Everyone in that room is focused on their own voice, their own ideas, their own fear of being invisible. The microphone is just sitting there, in the middle of the table, waiting. And the only question is whether you are going to reach out and take it. Not someday. Not when your accent is gone. Not when your English is perfect. Now, with the voice you have today, with the words you know right now, with the accent that tells the honest story of everything you have survived. Maya's story does not end here. The project was just the beginning. There were harder rooms ahead, bigger tables, louder voices, moments where the old silence tried to come back. And sometimes it did come back, for a day, for a week. The silence always knows where you live. But Maya knew something now. She knew the silence was a visitor, not a resident. She knew it could come and she could let it sit for a moment. And then she could open the door and show it out. Because the microphone was hers. She had proven that. Not to Daniel, not to her manager, not to the room, to herself. And that is the only proof that ever really counts. Your story is still being written. The next chapter starts the moment you decide your voice belongs in the room. That moment can be today. Actually, it can be right now. Let us step out of the story for a moment. Maya is a character, but the pain she succeeded is not fictional. That pain is real. It lives in real kitchens, real cars parked in real parking garages, real break rooms where real people sit alone with coffee they are not drinking. Maybe it lives in your home right now. I want to talk to you directly, not as a teacher, not as someone who has all the answers, but as someone who sees you. Someone who understands that you did not come to this country to become invisible. You came here to build something, and you're still building, even on the days it does not feel like it. So let me give you 3 lessons from Maya's story that I want you to carry with you. Lesson 1. Silence is not humility. Silence is self-punishment. There is a difference between choosing to listen and being too afraid to speak. Humility says, I hear you. Your words have value. Nadagis. Self-punishment says, my words do not matter, so I will not say them. Many immigrants confuse these 2 things. They think their silence is respectful. They think they are being appropriate, being professional, not making trouble. But the people around them do not see respect. They see absence. They see someone who has nothing to say. Or worse, someone who does not care enough to say it. Think about your own life right now. Is there a meeting where you go quiet, even when you have something valuable to offer? Is there a conversation with a doctor where you nod and say yes, even when you do not understand? Is there a moment with your child's teacher where you smile and walk away? That silence is costing you every single time. You are not being humble. You are paying a price that nobody asked you to pay. Lesson 2. You do not need perfect English. You need one courageous sentence. I want you to think about the most confident person you know. Someone who commands a room. I promise you this. That person does not speak perfectly either. They use the wrong words sometimes. They repeat themselves. They say, they start sentences and change direction in the middle. But they keep going. They do not stop and apologize for the way the sentence came out. They do not shrink back and say, never mind. They trust that what they have to say is worth the imperfection of how they say it. That is the only difference between them and you. Not vocabulary, not grammar, not accent, just that one belief. What I have to say is worth saying. I want you to say that right now, not out loud, if you do not want to, but inside. What I have to say is worth saying. Say it again. What I have to say is worth saying. That sentence right there is worth more than 1,000 vocabulary lessons. Lesson 3. The room will not change until you do. I know this is the hard one. I know it feels unfair. And honestly, it is unfair. You should not have to fight this hard just to be heard. You should not have to prepare twice as much just to get half the recognition. You should not have to prove yourself over and over. That is real. That is true. And I am not going to pretend otherwise. But here is also what is true. Waiting for the room to change is the most expensive thing you can do. Because rooms do not change by themselves. Rooms change when someone shifts the energy inside them. When someone decides to take up the space they are entitled to. When someone reaches out and picks up the microphone. Daniel did not change because someone told him to be quiet. Daniel changed because Maya spoke. Your workplace will not change because it becomes fair. Your workplace will change because you show up differently tomorrow than you did today. You are not waiting for permission. You are the permission. And I want to say one more thing before we move forward. I know some of you watching this right now have been silent for a long time, maybe years, maybe since the day you arrived. And I know that the longer the silence, the heavier it feels, the harder it seems to break. Like a room that has been closed for too long. The door gets stiff. It takes more force to open, but it opens. It always opens. Maya's silence lasted 7 months. Yours may have lasted longer. That does not mean the door is locked. It just means you have to push a little harder the first time. Push anyway. The person on the other side of that door is someone you used to know very well. It is time to let them back in. Right now, in this moment, you are feeling something. Maybe it is energy. Maybe it is recognition. Maybe it is that quiet fire. It comes when someone finally says exactly what you have been feeling, but you could not find the words for it. Do not let that feeling cool down. Do not close this video and go back to the same silence. Let's do something together right now. Something small. Something real. Something that takes less than 5 minutes but can change the direction of your day. Your challenge for today. I want you to write one sentence. Just one. Think about a real situation in your life where you went quiet when you should have spoken. A meeting, a phone call, a conversation with a neighbor, a moment at the doctor's office. Now write the sentence you wish you had said in English. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be honest. Write it in the comments below. Write now, before you do anything else. Because the moment you write it, it stops living only inside your head. It becomes real. And real things can be practiced. Real things can be used. Now let's practice the practice together. Here is your sentence for today. I want you to fill in the blank. I want to blank my point before we move on. What word goes in that blank? Think about it for 3 seconds. The answer is finish. I want to finish my point before we move on. Say it out loud right now. Wherever you are. In your car. In your kitchen. At your desk. Say it like you mean it. Because you do mean it. I want to finish my point before we move on. That sentence is yours now. Put it in your pocket. Take it to work tomorrow. Take it to your next meeting. Take it anywhere someone has ever talked over you or taken your space. You have the words now. The only thing left is the decision to use them. One more thing. If this story reached something inside you today, if Maya's voice sounded like your voice, if the words of George felt like something you needed to hear, then I want to ask you for one small thing. Subscribe to this channel. Not for me, for you. Because every week we come back to this space together. We read stories like Maya's. We learn words that carry real weight. We practice the kind of English that doesn't just help you pass a test. It helps you stand up in the rooms that matter most. This is your community. These are your people. Hit subscribe. Leave your sentence in the comments. And come back next week, because we are not done yet. We are just getting started. Before you go, I want to sit with you for just a few more minutes. No more lessons, no more challenges, no more fill in the blanks. Just this. You came to a new country. Maybe you came with a suitcase full of hope. Maybe you came with a heart full of fear. Maybe both at the same time. Most people carry both. And when you arrived, nobody gave you a guide. Nobody sat you down and said, here is how to rebuild yourself in a place that doesn't know your history. Here is how to carry your whole life in a language that is not your mother tongue. Here is how to stay whole when everything around you is asking you to become someone smaller. Nobody told you any of that. You figured it out alone, day by day. Mistake by mistake. Silence by silence. And you are still here. I want you to understand what that means. It doesn't mean you survived. Survival is the minimum. You did more than survive. You kept showing up to the meetings, to the classrooms, to the doctor's offices and the grocery stores, to the phone calls that made your hands sweat. You kept showing up, even when showing up felt like walking into a room where nobody knew your name. That is not weakness. That is one of the bravest things a human being can do. So tonight, when the day is done and the house is quiet and it's just you and your thoughts, I want you to remember one thing. Your accent is not a flaw. It is a map. It shows everywhere you have been, everything you have crossed, everyone you have loved in another language. Your voice doesn't need to be perfect to deserve to be heard. It just needs to be yours. And it is. It has always been yours. Nobody can take that from you. Not a faster talker, not a louder room, not 7 months. 7 months of silence, not 7 years. Your voice is yours. Use it tomorrow. Use it in the small moments and the big ones. Use it when it shakes. Use it when it is strong. Just use it. I will be here next week, Carl. Next week with another story, another voice, another reminder that you belong in every room you are brave enough to walk into. Until then, take care of yourself. You're doing better than you think you are. Much better.